Hello, welcome back to the James Ramblin' Reviews for yet another episode. And in today's episode, I'm actually going to be reviewing Godzilla Minus One. Now, before I get into that kind of stuff where I'm talking about the plot, the movie itself, how I feel about it, all of that, if you remember the James Ramblin' Reviews, there's this one distinct kind of thing I like to do before I talk about certain things about a movie, certain things about a show or a game or whatever. I apply context where I give you a bit of a history as to how I got into this certain thing, why I'm reviewing it. It brings in a bit more closure and understanding on my perspective of a film or whatever. So when it comes to Godzilla, this is an interesting case because with Godzilla, right, I'm not going to sit here and act like, oh, I'm like the biggest fan of Godzilla, whatever. I've only seen like the Godzilla versus Kong movies. It's like those are cheesy American ones where it's like the monsters are fighting each other. It's all kind of silly and everything. And I remember for one of my birthdays back in 2021, I went to see Godzilla versus Kong, and that was a very like pivotal memory that I had. And then I went to see Godzilla, the New Empire, Kong New Empire, whatever, like a few months ago, a couple of months ago, and that was again sort of the silly stuff that you've seen in the Godzilla versus Kong. So that once you get outside of that kind of stuff, right, it's pretty interesting once we start getting into Godzilla Minus One because this movie is pretty much about this kamikaze pilot, right? And it's like to do with the war just after the war or whatever when Japan were in the war in the 40s, right? And then there's Godzilla that gets into this, and the kamikaze pilot fails his mission because the kamikaze pilot is supposed to actually die. That was the whole mission. So what ends up happening is Godzilla manages to kill his like comrades and stuff, and and it's this whole like dramatic movie with this sad, very depressing tone where at certain points you feel like you're on edge of your seat because Godzilla's coming out, and then there's all these emotional stakes, and there's a lot of character moments where there's like a lot of personality, and there's like a whole storyline for the character, the kamikaze pilot, and stuff like that. So once you get outside of what the plot is and all of that and my context, well, when it comes to how I feel about this movie, right, I gotta say that I actually really enjoyed this movie, and as somebody that only has seen like a fragment of Godzilla content, I did enjoy it. Now, what I will say is that, right, I wish I actually saw this movie in the theatres because of this cinematic experience. Like, for example, right, the movie itself has like a lot of like music where it's a bit dramatic and it feels like a surround sound in a theater with all that sound going on would have been a better thing. But it was great that I got to watch it because it was like it came on Netflix recently, so I just decided to watch it. So there's that, right? But I would say that I really did enjoy the movie with the tone and how it was taking itself seriously, since obviously with the other Godzilla movies, it was kind of different, and I would love to see other kind of Godzilla movies where they take that seriously. Like for example, I will say that I did hear that the very first original Godzilla from 1954 was actually a very serious tone, and it seems that Japan itself likes to take the Godzilla storyline way more seriously than America. Now there was this one point in the movie where Godzilla kinda has like this gamma radiation, like he blasts, like he like spits like this blue like laser out of his mouth like a dragon. That was kind of over the top. There was some comedic elements where like the characters were acting funny, and a few of the characters remind me as like these silly like comedic gags in anime where they like kind of sound silly and over the top. And that's kind of what you expect when it comes to Japanese media in general. You get that cheesy stuff, but it had a good balance of the seriousness, and then there was a bit of the humour inside of there. So overall, I really did enjoy this movie, and it did actually win an Oscar, which is quite a remarkable thing, especially because a lot of Godzilla movies they aren't really like an Oscar attendant or whatever. Like when it comes to like the Oscars, you don't see Godzilla there all the time. It's usually like these big like 3 hour long epic movies where there's a lot of talking and things. That's quite a common thing. There's also World War movies, but it is good that Godzilla Minus One actually won an Oscar. So there's that, right? So how would I rate this? Because that was something I would do with the review show. Is that something I would do is like I would rate it out of 10 or whatever. So I would actually give this movie like a 9 out of 10, 9.5. And the reason why I say that is because there is actually some familiar territory within this movie, because as much as I enjoyed the music, the emotional tension in the story and all of that, like there's a lot of Japanese, Korean, there's a lot of Asian media has a lot of these melodramatic, serious, and then undertones of over the top silliness kind of stuff. So it's not a perfect movie, but it's very, very good, and it did deserve to win an Oscar, and I wish I saw it in the theatres. So I will not beat around the bush any longer, and I'm just gonna give you my raw thoughts, right? And I did see it a couple days ago. Just let it like sit in my head a bit. I don't want to just rush a review out, right? And that's the whole point of the rebrand, was we wanted to have like the reviews go well, and that's all we wanted to do. So yeah, bye. See you next time for another episode on the James Rambling Reviews. And yeah, make sure you subscribe, and I will maybe try to put these on Spotify again as well, and try and get back into my account and see what we can do there. And I'll promote the Spotify stuff as well, because you want to listen to it and watch it, you know what I mean? So yeah, bye.